Hi Marty, it's really nice to meet you.
Hello, Nancy. How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
So how has this affected the Historical Society?
Well, Nancy, fortunately for us, most of our major events had concluded by March 15th when we were advised by Lee County that we had to close down our offices, which we did do under the leadership of Kim Kyle and certainly with the assistance of Rosemary and Jim Blahow, who are our chief archivists and major volunteers at the center. So we were fortunate to have that support along with the support of a great hardworking board of directors that helped us through the entire season.
That's wonderful. So are there any events that had to be canceled?
There's a couple of events, Nancy, that did have to be canceled. One of them was a art show that we were doing in cooperation with Gail Cleveland. We were going to put on a art exhibit over here, actually in the powerhouse, using with some of her mother's major paintings that had never seen before, Winnie Smart. So that was a disappointment, but we hope to schedule again next year.
Why do you feel that it's important to document what is happening with the coronavirus and how it's affecting Boca Grande and the Historical Society?
Well, our major mission is to document the past history of Boca Grande, bringing history to life. So what better idea to document the history as it's happening, which is a little bit unique for us. We spend a lot of time documenting what this beautiful area here was a number of years ago when it was an actual railroad and port in Boca Grande. So we're looking forward to this, and I think it's a great idea to have Rick and his team join our team in putting this all together.
Yes,
and thank you for your help today.
Oh, you're very welcome. He does a great job.
Yes.
So are you finding that more people now, because they can't come to the Historical Society or any events, that they are utilizing your online services?
Yeah, we are hoping that they will continue to use our online services, and if you go to BocaGrandeHistoricalSociety.com, you can actually archive and access our archives by looking at least 2,000 photos that we have on file, along with a lot of past information about the history of Boca Grande. So that, especially when people have a lot of time on their hands these days, or at least it seems like they have a lot of time on their hands.
So how has the coronavirus affected you personally?
Well, you know, we are pretty social animals, and certainly with all the great facilities we have on this island, from the Friends of Boca Grande to all the other activities, you find yourself almost busy 24/7. At that time, you feel like it'd be great just to get away from this for a while, but after a while, it gets to be kind of like Groundhog Day. Every day you hit the alarm and it's the same thing every day. And I shouldn't say the same thing, but we're finding ways to amuse ourselves and operate within the restrictions that we're operating within right now.
How do you think people are going to view this video in the future? What do you hope that they're going to gain from watching how the island handled the pandemic?
I think if they could, we spend a lot of time studying history, and as you look at what's going on here, it's giving us time to reflect on what it must be like back in the day when there was no television, there was no constant entertainment like you have right now with all the different events that are going on. And I would think it would be interesting for them to see what hopefully will continue to be a bustling, active town, to see what it was like when everything slowed down. That people were wearing masks, only going to the post office twice a day, seeing, unfortunately, the impact, which is really the most striking, that it's had on the people that work in the city, the people that work construction, the people that supply all the different restaurants, and the tough impact it's had on those people. And if they could see what this community is like and what they've experienced over the years and see what it actually did, it really makes you appreciate how people survived life back in those days with not all the great things that we have at our fingertips.
Right. So what do you think that we should be learning from the pandemic, or what you personally are learning from being in this pandemic era that we're in?
Well, Nancy, it is a cause for reflection. You know, as a product of the 60s, I don't know that I was truly appreciating what the public services could provide a community. I mean, when I think about the police department here, the fire department, the clinic, what the Lee County people do for this community. I'd like to have a special shout out for Joe Weir, who runs the park services here. He does a spectacular job of organizing those groups and bringing all these people together before and after the pandemic. So I think have a better appreciation for the people you never see on a day-to-day basis that kind of make everything work and
Right.
make this such a great community for all of us.
Right, the people behind the scenes that are making everything work together to keep us safe is really important. So Marty, I so want to thank you for taking the time today to talk to us from the Boca Grande Historical Society, and I look forward to seeing the completed video in the archives. Thank you so much.
Nancy, it's been a pleasure, and I'd like to thank everybody that's listening in and viewing this video, and encourage you to go to BocaGrandeHistoricalSociety.com and take a look at the archives. Thank you very much.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. You know what? In these interviews, we in no way mean to diminish what's happening here, but it has affected boating. But there's a few bright spots or bright moments that have come out because of this. And one was the fact that yes, you can still boat. Now, the way the mandate really reads, you can hunt and fish. Therefore, we were making the recommendations that if you're going to go out boating, of course, check to see if you required a fish license and make sure you had a couple fishing poles on board the boat. But in dealing with the FWC and local law enforcement and powers to be, they're not out there really just to give us a hard time and really stop the boaters from going out and enjoying themselves. But we do need to stay away from the state park and the public beach areas. That's not to say that I haven't seen boaters out in other locations at other beach areas, backwater beach areas, not being bothered. We made a lot of advancements. When this first came down, we were afraid they were going to shut everything down. We were afraid they were going to shut down boating and boat ramps altogether. Thank goodness to the common sense of our local officials that kept the waterways open. Now, it took a lot of effort for us to get this information out to the public, the fact that they needed to have this social distancing while they're on the boat. And what does that mean? Well, that means no more than 10 persons per boat, no more than 10 people per gathering. It also means that if you're anchored up at one of these locations, they want to see a 50-foot distance between boats. Now, they're certainly not out there with a tape measure.
Right.
They're looking for common sense. And we've been seeing that. And from talking to some of the officers last weekend out in the water, they said, folks, we've been doing a great job, so keep up the good work. Keep in mind, if you pull your boat up to a public beach and you put the bow up and throw an anchor up there, you are on that beach. They are going to ask you to leave. You can anchor up next to it. You can anchor up bow out and stern into it, but you can't put your anchor up onto the beach. As long as you're standing in the water, ankle deep, you're fine. You can't be up on the beach. So it has kind of limited the beach activity. The sandbars, a lot of people are asking about the sandbars. What does that mean? Well, that means they don't want large gatherings. We all love to go down to the trestle area. Anybody watching this program from the area knows what I'm talking about, the sandbar, the trestle, stump past some of those really popular areas. You can still go there, keep your distance, keep that 50-foot rule, and keep your gathering down. So that doesn't mean that you can go there with 5 or 6 other boater friends of yours with that distance and then all gather in the middle with the whole family in that. They're trying to separate that just a little bit. And you know, so it has changed boating, but fortunately boating is still one of the things that we can get out and do and enjoy as long as we use common sense and keep these distances in mind when we're out there. The weekdays certainly are not as bad as the weekends. And I think in the beginning, everybody, because they knew they were not supposed to be out there, were just rushing to the sandbars. They were rushing to the beaches. Now it's kind of slowed down. Common sense has kind of set in. And well, hopefully this is going to be lifted soon, but certainly has made some changes and it's made some adjustments to it. But if you're fortunate enough to have a boat, what a great opportunity to get out with your family and spend some one-on-one time. So yes, it's changed things, but folks, I got to tell you, it's still one of the greatest opportunities you have to get out there on a boat, get out and have yourself a great time with your family. We just got to use a little common sense.
Because I've noticed when I've come across the causeway that initially the sandbar was so packed, even at the beginning of this, and I noticed that there's a lot more distance now between the boats as there should be, and there aren't people congregating the way they normally do.
That was the hardest thing to overcome because everybody, they're social. They want to go out there to have a good time. They want to be with their friends and play their music. They have split up. They are putting a little more distance between them. And like I said, the local law enforcement officers, because we're in close contact with them, are really happy with the results and what we're seeing out there. So folks, if you're out there boating, and you're absolutely right, in the beginning, it was chaos, it was mayhem, but it really has changed a lot. And we're doing a lot better job up there, or out there on the waters. And it's just simply keeping your distance, keeping that common sense. When you're underway, Doesn't mean you have to keep that 50-foot distance in some of the tighter waterways. When you're at a marina, getting on and off your boat or at a boat ramp, these are not applying to those situations, but we certainly don't want you congregating at the marina or congregating at the boat ramp itself. So with that said, get out in the water, have yourself a good time. Please pay attention to these rules and regulations. I still suggest getting a fishing license if you need one, grabbing a fishing rod and reel, and getting out on the water. You need more information, check with myfwc.com for rules and regulations.
Thank you, Tom, so much for taking time. And we look forward to coming out on one of your charters and also the hot dogs.
You got it.